Hello everyone and welcome to something a little bit different. Now I've been thinking about what I can do over the Christmas period, and I was like, maybe we'll look back a little bit whilst I'm working on some new things, and I thought why not revisit the tier list that I did 2 years ago, and why don't we go ahead and update it with all of the pay-per-views, EPW included, that weren't on that tier list. So, you know, we've got 8 pay-per-views for our selection. Europe's Finest, Sacrifice, Fight Forever, By Design, Infamous, Invictus, We Are EPW, and Down in Flames. We'll start off with Europe's Finest. This was basically the start of modern EPW as we know it. A 6-man ladder match for the European Championship. Genji Otto, Giuseppe Alfred, Jeff Riley, Zach Burke, and 2 mystery men, who, if I'm right, I believe were Marshall Henry and Bruno Burgos. We had the World Tag Team Championships, Broskis, WCD, and Raza Ranye. We had the Premier Series Finals, Evan Poland, Romeo Flip, and Oscar Harrison. We had the Network Championship, Christine Rosario, Eileen Beck. The Women's World Championship Elimination Chamber match, Cyril Dawn, Aya Ray, Jody Grimes, Luna Olsen, Trish Renee, and Eve Preston. Derek Alpha, Bullet Holland for the World Championship. This was a fun card. I think I remember this being a good show. Bullet, Derek was a fantastic match. I think the Elimination Chamber match was good too. The Network title match was solid. This might be a banger pay-per-view. I'm going to go ahead and pop it in banger. I don't think it's above Down in Flames 2021. I just think that was a really, really good pay-per-view, regardless of what you think about maybe some of the matches. But Europe's Finest was genuinely a really solid offering, and it was a very, very fun card. So, I don't really see that being any lower than banger, to be completely honest. So next up we have EPW Sacrifices, right, back-to-back EPW cards. Evan Poland Open Challenge, WCD defending against the Academy of Excellence, Jeff Riley defending against Giuseppe Alfred, Aya Ray taking on Eileen Beck, Derek Alpha defending against Sabian Grace, and Cyril Dawn defending against Eve Preston. Now, I think I remember this card being pretty decent. I just don't think I remember anything crazy from it. I think the only thing I remember is the build to Bullet Holland Evan Poland, which happened By Design. So, it has maybe like 1 or 2 things going for it. I don't think any of the matches were bad, and I don't think any of the matches were super crazy either. I think I remember probably more of the Retro Rumble than I do Sacrifice, so I'm going to go ahead and pop that into the alright tier. Then we move on to Fight Forever, the first CEW pay-per-view after Kingdom of Glory, and honestly, I think this card's pretty decent. Jordy Diaz, Bradley British. If Jordy won, then Bradley was banned from CEW. A ladder match between Sienna Payne and Alexis Nova. The Rock and Rave Experience defending against Marzo in a fantastic tag title match. I do remember that one very, very vividly. Jessica Smith versus Christine Rosario in a quite a solid Network Championship match. Eliza Stone taking on Elizabeth Payne. This was a good match. It was a steel cage match. It was quite a fun steel cage match if I remember correctly. Jinku versus Darius Rascon. Rascon rules, which was a fantastic matchup. I realized I botched the graphic like 2 years ago. Tony Taylor versus Mayu Shigata for the Women's World Championship, and Max McCarthy versus Stanley Owens for the World Championship. I think this is where we kind of see the step up in pay-per-view quality. I think Kingdom of Glory and Invictus and all of that being so good, I knew that I had to knock it out of the park with future pay-per-views. And I think Fight Forever was good. I just think there were some matches that keep it out of the GOAT category, and I don't think there was any, like, massive matches that really put it into the GOAT tier. I think I would put it above Europe's Finest, just because I'm thinking about, like, the 2 world title matches are kind of like the balancing act, and then the tag title match between Rock and Rave and Marzo is probably one of the best tag matches I've ever done, so I think it deserves to be in the banger tier. Then we have EPW By Design. Fatal 4-Way for the EPW World Tag Team Championships, True Talent, American Strong Style, WCD, and The Standard. in a very fun elimination tag match. Sky Simmons versus Eve Preston in what I think is probably one of the best matches. One of the best matches I've done that was just like non-title, a very unassuming match on the surface. Jeff Riley, Arlo Newman in a shock win for Arlo, which nobody expected. Marie Gardet, Cyril Dawn, Jody Grimes triple threat. It wasn't what I was hoping it would be, but it was still a solid matchup. Bullet Holland, Evan Poland street fight. Of course, the introduction of Tyson Jax to Empire International. And Leonio Cisco, Derek Alpha, and Bruno Burgos in a world title match. And then, of course, the all-out war between the court of the Lab of Psychosis and Sunshine Valley. I do think the triple threat match keeps it out of GOAT, but I would put it here. I really, really would. I think all-out war is the building blocks for what the Invictus Games matches were when we get to Invictus. I really, really do. I think the all-out war was me testing things, and the fact that that was received so well allowed me to then make Invictus as good as it was, which again we will get onto in a second. I think the two world title matches do bring it down a little bit. I think the street fight between Bullet and Evan was incredible, and I think there were some really, really good matches. The European Championship continuing to show up and show out every single time I have a match for that. And I genuinely think this was a solid card. I just don't think it's a GOAT tier yet. And I think, give it time, and I think EPW will have a GOAT tier pay-per-view. Is it We Are EPW? We will see. We will see. Then we have Infamous, the first ever and still, at the moment, only network women's only pay-per-view. And I think this was a really, really solid one. We've got Kyrie Sampson, Jade Young, which was a fantastic match with a really good storyline plot that's still being paid off to this day. Rua Katastarismoy, Christine Rosario for the Network Championship. A lot of people thought this was Rua's time. It wasn't just yet. Eileen Beck versus Mayu Shigata for the CEW Women's World Championship was a great matchup. Sienna Payne versus Usha Falls was a fun match as well. Alice Redson versus Elizabeth Payne for the Women's Intercontinental Championship was also a fun match. Cheyenne Amy Sutton was an incredible encounter. Cyril Dawn Sky Simmons was a very, very good matchup as well, and probably the best way to main event. Oh, where the hell do I put this? Because I don't remember there being a bad match in quotation marks. I might be biased, but I might put this in GOAT tier. I don't know if I can put it above Mania 3 or anything like that, but I do think that Infamous was genuinely a really solid show. Sky Simmons, Cyril Dawn, do yourself a favor, go back and watch that. Probably one of the best matches I've done, in all honesty, and I think a lot of the matches were really good too. I think Rua Christine was good. I think, you know, Eileen Beck Mayu was great as well. You could argue there weren't a lot of storylines in there, but like when we were building up to Invictus, a lot of the stories happened in the first match and the last match. That was really sort of like our big selling point. But speaking of things that are going to absolutely make it into, you know, the top tiers, let's be real here. I think we all know what's coming. It's Invictus 2. We're just gonna go ahead and say it. Invictus right now can't miss, and I think the second was better than the first, and I knew that's what I needed it to be. This was a show where I genuinely stressed myself out so much because I knew deep down, if I didn't think it was better than Invictus 1, I felt like I had failed. Because I think Invictus 1 was like the best pay-per-view I've ever done, and I think Invictus 2 topped that. I really, really do. Whilst Kingdom of Glory is our WrestleMania, genuinely, in terms of quality, you could argue Invictus is. I mean, look at this. We've got Operation Gold versus Team Byron, which was a fantastic match, and I think the build was great too. Ryan Shamrock Leon Young for the IC title was a fantastic matchup. Triple threat for the women's IC title, Kofi Conaway, Elizabeth Payne, Alice Redson. This was Alice Redson's moment. It was a great payoff and a great way of incorporating REW storylines into a CEW one and amplifying instead of taking away from. Braxton Myers and David Creed defending the tag titles against the Pain Foundation was a really fun story I got to tell, and I'm glad I got to tell that. Apollo's ascent for the Network Championship, I think, was really, really good. We expanded on the idea from Invictus 1 with the tag titles, made it for the Network title, and then brought in a bunch of people who were feuding with each other, and I think it really worked. And it allowed Luna Olsen to win the belt in a way that I think didn't take away from Rua's run too much, who had already had, like, 5 defenses in about 2 months, which was nuts. This was also the time when we announced the Network Tag Team Championships. Psychosis British for the Hardcore Championship was probably one of my favorite hardcore matches I've ever done. The World's title Fatal 4-Way was incredible. Nobody expected the Bob Parks win except for the person who knew. And the Women's Invictus Games match is probably one of the best matches of last year, of the year, to be honest. It's match of the year candidate, and honestly, yeah, I could not see myself not putting Invictus at the top of the pecking order for this specific, you know, tier list. Then we have We Are EPW, which I think is also another incredible show. Again, like I said, it's going to be me tooting my own horn for the entire time. Mafia Rules, Bruno Burgos, Giuseppe Alfred was fantastic. Sunshine Valley versus WCD for the tag titles. It made sense for it to be Sunshine Valley's time, and it was a great match to boot. The European Championship ladder match, I think a lot of people were expecting Arlo to lose the belt. I almost did the switch, but then I opted against it because I felt like Arlo had just a little bit more story to tell. Alex Blade, Danny Wells for the REW Internet Championship was a great way of doing their feud with a bit of extra stakes, thanks to, you know, REW for allowing me to have that Internet Championship match. Eve Preston, Eileen Beck was a great way of telling the Chosen One's story even further. Mara Levi, Sky Simmons was the start of the build to a Mara Levi. And then the World Championship Gauntlet match, where Bullet proves himself to be, like, the top guy. It's so tricky because I think this card is so good, but I think if I add this, I've got to bump a pay-per-view down. If I add this to GOAT, I don't know if I could put it above Mania 2, but I feel like I'd have to move Infamous here, just because I don't think I could have more than 5 GOAT pay-per-views. You know, I just don't think I could. Like, if I put everything in GOAT, then nothing is the GOAT, you know? I just think that these 5 are like the epitome of standard in terms of what I can bring when, like, I really know what I'm doing, which is really weird because we've got Mania 3, which is like my first big pay-per-view, like my first Mania pay-per-view coming back. But I think I delivered really well on that one, and I think We Are EPW delivered really, really well as well, because, you know, I think a lot of people still maybe aren't on the EPW train yet. And, you know, I understand that, but hey, give it time. Chaos Reigns is coming soon, and I guarantee you'll probably find some enjoyment out of that one as well. And now the last match, last pay-per-view on this tier list, our most recent one, Down in Flames 2024, 6-man Intercontinental ladder match, which I think was great, and nobody expected the Justin Noble title change. Leah Briones, Luna Olsen in what felt like the right culmination for Luna Olsen's Network title run. Darius Rascon, Bradley British in a great hardcore championship match. Christina Dean, Alice Redson in quite a shocker, I think. It's very rare I book shockers for the sake of shockers, but that was kind of one of them. Maybe it's a bad thing, maybe it's a good thing, you can tell me. Broski's Rock and Rave Experience, I think, was a great tag match once again. I really do think that since I've kind of taken a step back and thought about tag wrestling and tag matches in general, I think my tag division and my tag matches, especially tag title matches, have definitely improved in quality. Mayu Shigata, Shione, and Sky Simmons for the Women's World Championship. That was a fun triple threat. Triple threats are always kind of hard to record, but I think this one was pretty decent. And then Bob Parks, Price Stevens in a really good world title match. I do think it falls short of the first Down in Flames, just because that has Blake and Braxton, and I don't think there was a match on here that has the impact of Blake Payne Braxton Myers. But I do think it's better than Fight Forever. I'd probably put it there and on the banger scale. I genuinely think it was a great pay-per-view, and I do think that it was a great way of inadvertently and unexpectedly, that was kind of like the end of the year pay-per-view, and I do think it was a great show. But yeah, that was the tier list. I'm not sure if I can save it with all of the new amendments I've made on that, but if I can, then I will leave a link in the description for this entire tier list, and you can give it a go yourself, see, you know, what you personally think of the pay-per-views. Like I said, go ahead, check out the GOATs if you haven't already. Maybe check out some of the banger tiers as well. You know, some of my earlier stuff isn't great, but I still enjoy it. I still haven't gone back and done, like, the 2019 ones, but maybe that's a topic for another day. Maybe when we get to, like, the, oh my god, it's gonna be a 7-year anniversary next year. Oh my god. Maybe when we get to the 7-year anniversary, I'll do every single pay-per-view I've ever done. That I can still find recordings of, because, you know, that's another big thing. And we'll chuck in, like, Academy ones, extra ones as well. We'll do every single pay-per-view I've ever done. Maybe even the Universe Mode ones, I don't know. But yeah, I think I've spoken long enough, and yeah, see ya.